Hello and welcome to Fast Thoughts with me, Wolfgang. Today we'll be looking at Header's Code by Miracle Moon, a visual novel slash escape room game inspired by the likes of the Zero Escape series. Specifically, I'm talking about the 2021 remake rather than the original version. The game takes place in what appears to be a modified version of the Montreal metro system, with all the stations containing escape rooms instead of their usual areas. The main character, a recently finished student named Simon, is trapped in this metro with 7 other characters and told to play a, quote, dating game. Yes, I laughed the first time I heard it too, by a masked figure named Smiley. In the dating game, the participants have to travel through the stations, completing the escape rooms in pairs, in order to find a 9th person who will allow them to escape. The gameplay is nigh non-existent. The whole game is made up of visual novel sections and escape room sections, but unfortunately the escape room sections are pretty basic. The game shows you all the potential interaction points and hides anything you've finished interacting with, making each room a simple case of clicking through all the icons until you're done. While there are puzzles presented in the course of the narrative, the characters almost always solve them without any player input. There are only 2 occasions, as far as I recall, that you actually have to think about what you're doing. One case you can just brute force it regardless, and the other gave me a little trouble, to be fair, but only because I made it too complicated for myself. The game felt very much more a visual novel than I was expecting, especially compared to its sister game, Birth Me Code. Of course, it is a visual novel to a certain extent, but you want something more on your escape room games. The story is fine, but suffers in a few places. For example, the atmosphere just doesn't feel as well formed as it should be. Additionally, your first ending is forced, none of your choices actually change it, and it's a very long way to get to the ending. Consequently, you aren't even making any meaningful decisions until you've been playing for 6 or 7 hours. Pacing consequently feels very strange. When you do get to the true ending, you can see why they wanted you to play that ending first, and it makes sense from a narrative structure point of view, but at the same time, it actually self-weakens that narrative on account of the fact that you kind of lose interest to a certain degree. It was certainly a lot harder to concentrate on the game for the first pass through it than it was after when I was going through and fetching all the endings. Speaking of the ending, while I won't go into details here, the game, like Birth Me Code, dives deep into pseudoscience at the end. Again, this would be fine, but some of the ideas don't really make sense. Even if you accept the fiction, a lot of it just doesn't add up properly. Maybe in the 3rd game in the series, some of this will be ironed out and explained properly. The game left me a lot of questions I felt weren't answered when they should have been, and not in the sort of way of leaving it open for a sequel hook or something, but just they sort of half explained it, but didn't properly do it. A lot of the motivations of unseen characters who are sort of integral to the plot, even if they don't appear, are left unclear because they aren't really explained. And they're only really there as a sort of because they could type explanation. Why did this happen? Because someone wanted it to. Indeed, a lot of the characters that we do see as well suffer from this lack of explanation of their backstories. Again, I don't want to go into details, but there are many cases where it's sort of it only seems explicable because of someone's whim, rather than a well thought out reasoning. On the subject of the main characters, they're all fine. I can't really say they stir up much more in me, though. Indeed, the only character I had much emotion for was one of the ones I knew from having played Birth Me Code before, because of what they meant in that game and because of their role there. There wasn't anything specific I didn't like about any of the characters or anything like that. I just didn't feel that same spark that I was looking for. The writing is also a little dodgy in places, with a lot of weird turns of phrase, maybe just a difference in our versions of English, me being British and all. But also, there were a number of definite errors that were just plain there as mistakes. The odd missing word that made a sentence not fit properly, or something being in the wrong tense. The sort of thing that trips you up when you're reading, sort of mid-sentence. It just felt like it needed another proofread to really iron out a lot of these. There's a certain acceptable level of, oh, you forgot a word. But when I'm stumbling not infrequently, then that's definitely a real problem. The art is fine. The backgrounds all look good, the character sprites are a bit more variable. Some look good, like the twins, and A and E, and some look less good, like Jasmine and Marco, the first two characters you meet, which gives you a slightly dodgy impression out of the gate. All the CGs look fine though, so it really is just a few of the sprites feeling a bit off to me. I have given this game some pretty harsh criticism, but don't get me wrong, it's perfectly good. I just constantly, in the back of my mind, am drawing the comparison to Miracle Moon's other game, Birth Me Code. Given this is a remake of their first game, I can see where the improvements in storytelling and game design went into Birth Me Code, and wish they'd brought more of that into this remake rather than just giving it a facelift, which, to be fair, is a pretty significant upgrade from the original version, and is a step above Birth Me Code in terms of the sprite design, especially. If you liked Birth Me Code, then Header's Code gives you another part of the story, but to me, this is an inferior Birth Me Code. I give Header's Code a 7726 out of 11037. It's still good, but I'd play Birth Me Code first if you're interested in the series, so you can determine whether you like the series as a whole before going into this game. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more fast thoughts. And if there's something you'd like to hear my fast thoughts on, or you have some thoughts of your own on today's topic, please leave a comment below. I'll see you down there.